Welcome everybody. And my name is Rohit, and this podcast is like an experiment which we have named it like B School, and B School like BE dash hyphen school, like and the sort of context behind it is that I graduated from like a business school, like, and I spent a couple of years working in investment banking. And at some point, I started feeling that, perhaps like, my time at B school, at the business school, has really equipped me to, I think, uh, like, answer some, made me really good at like, thinking strategy, thinking big, how to run organizations, how to raise, $100 million and so on. But increasingly, I started to question about like the basic foundations of life, right? How to like, be happy, be content, be grateful, how to have meaningful relationships in life, and even like how to sort of really take a step back and look at the state of the world today and ask ourselves that what is our really role in this space, like how can we add like few more drops of healing and love into this world which seems so broken and unequal in so many ways. So at that time, like as I was thinking all of this, I thought that maybe it's time to like seek admission in a new school, which is like a BE slash school, and understand like really who I am and what we are doing. And unfortunately, there are not so many spaces in the world today. So I thought the why not like just start this and like hope that we all can come together in a deeper way and like just learn from each other. And so that's like this, and uh, one of the things is that so this is like, and today I'm extremely happy that we are starting with this podcast with like a very dear friend, Vineet Saraiwala. And I have known him for like, we were together at college, like from 2013 to 15. And so it's been like 8 years, nine, how many, 10 years since I've known him. And that's and now he's also like the founder of a platform for uh, like to connect people with disability, and not to just see their like brokenness or what they don't have, but to see that everyone is good at something, everyone has gifts, and everyone can contribute those gifts to the world. So we need to, so my claim to fame in a nutshell is sort of like that we could say that we knew Vineet before he was like the massive star of the world, like that to the first place basis. So we'll talk more about it, but uh, I think what I would really want to invite all of us to do is to start from with a few minutes of silence. And because silence, I think there are a lot of things which as can't be understood in words. I think silence has the possibility to connect us to that, to the answers within. So in that spirit, let us all start with 10 minutes of silence, and I'm really happy that we are all here together. Thank you. So thank you again all for joining us today. Thank you, Vineet. Uh, Thank you, Sharv, Abhishek, and we also have Gitika joining us. And to all the people, who are tuning into a recording, it's a joy to like be together in this inquiry. And as probably Vineet is someone who has this rare visual condition, which is like called retinitis pigmentosa, and where his vision has been like progressively declining. So I remember, I might not have like the exact facts correct, but I remember him saying something like, when he was a child, like he could like play cricket and like do most of the things which normally people with us like a normal vision would. And now gradually it has declined progressively, where it is I think like just a very little marginal, like I think 10% of vision, his vision is left. So I was with him, in Goa, like, and by the way, if any of you saw that slide on that silence, which was there, like this with that in the time of silence, that is like a sunset right outside Vineet's home. That photo, which we had taken when we were together. So, he loves hosting people at his home. So that is one definitely additional factor for you to, actually just say, drop by. But I was at his home, and like we were eating lunch, and imagine like I saw him, and I can't imagine like eating lunch when I don't even know what is there on my plate, or whether it is left, or something is still there. And but so the daily kind of things which you have to go through. Uh, so it's really, I think it's like a regular um, reminder of like things are changing and impermanence in a way, and how do you sort of embrace what is arising in this moment. Very so and it's amazing, like despite all of that, we need the way your journey has went, and how you care like less about what am I getting, but what can I give, like how can I serve, and that I have enough, tapping into this abundance mindset and not in terms of a scarcity mindset. So which makes me feel that there is one sort of outer eye through which we see things outside and as they appear, but there's also an inner seeing, right, which informs like how we see ourselves, how we see others, how we see life, uh, and how we respond to life in each moment. And I feel when I look at things from that lens, I feel that not only you see so much more clearly than so many of us, but also perhaps your life can be a guiding light for many of us. So in that spirit, I wanted to also play a song, which like a short song, which I feel like so much captures. I think when I hear that song, it will always remind me of you. So here is that short song. And then after that, I promise that we'll actually start listening to your stories. So it's a song which a Buddhist nun from Nepal has sung. Vineet, you may have heard it, and it's called Phool Ko Aankha Ma, and by Annie Choing Drolma. So I don't know, Vineet, if you will be able to. So I'll ping you the lyrics on chat, at least the English lyrics on chat, so that you can also follow, and rest of us can just follow the screen or be in silence. So while we hear it. So thank you.
फुलको आँखामा फुलै संसार काँडाको आँखामा काँडै संसार, फुलको आँखामा फुलै संसार, काँडाको आँखामा काँडै संसार, झुल्किन्छ है छाया वस्तु अनुसार, काँडाको आँखामा काँडै संसार, फुलको आँखामा फुलै संसार, काँडाको आँखामा काँडै संसार, शुद्ध होस् मेरो बोली बुद्ध होस्, मेरो पैतालाले हिरै नमरोस्, चित्त शुद्ध होस् मेरो बोली बुद्ध होस्, मेरो पैतालाले हिरै नमरोस्, राम्रो आँखामा खुल्छ राम्रै संसार, काँडाको आँखामा काँडै संसार, फुलको आँखामा फुलै संसार, काँडाको आँखामा काँडै संसार, जुन देखो कालो रातैमा, जीवन संगीत सुनुमा सुख पातैमा, ताहा ताहा जुन देखो कालो रातैमा, जीवन संगीत सुनुमा सुख पातैमा, संगलो मनमा खुल्छ है सँगै संसार, काँडाको आँखामा काँडै संसार, फुलको आँखामा फुलै संसार, काँडाको आँखामा काँडै संसार, फुलको आँखामा फुलै संसार, काँडाको आँखामा काँडै संसार, झुल्किन्छ है छाया वस्तु अनुसार, काँडाको आँखामा काँडै संसार, फुलको आँखामा फुलै संसार, काँडाको आँखामा काँडै संसार, काँडाको आँखामा काँडै संसार, काँडाको आँखामा काँडै संसार, काँडाको आँखामा काँडै संसार।
And this is a quote, I think, from a book which some of you may have read. It's like a children's book called The Little Prince. And it is the essence of this book, it really says that it is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eyes. And so, Vineet, that is like the long-winded way to say, like, how happy I am to have you here and to be able to count you as my friend. And, so over to you. And how are you feeling, man?
So Rohit, as soon as you told me, Lucky, let's do this, and I think, yeah, I was actually very anxious. So as I told you on the phone today, that I did my homework by just going to the beach and anchoring myself for the close to 1.5 hours. Then I meditated a bit, and this space is very sacred, and thank you for having me, first of all. And the other thing I keep on telling you, you don't take that compliment very seriously. But yeah, like you, like as Steve Jobs in his speech said, that connecting the dots, probably I so many things happened because of, you know I don't know, like one call after 4 or 5 years of our batch, where I remembered Rohit as that arrogant, aggressive, topper sort of a guy who would not even talk to me probably, and suddenly calling up for inner journey. That was more weird actually.
I,
Rohit talking about inner journey and so on, as such, and yeah, just being there silently listening to me for the past 2 years plus probably. No advice, no gyan, just giving a patient hearing, not even judging me. So yeah, just thank you for being as such, and I think this is a very amazing space. So I'm happy to be here.
no, beautiful, man. Like, I think, I mean, like for a guy whose job description, like, every time is to actually look at the good in others, I will take that. Okay, whatever you said. Okay. But Vineet, like, really, I think we all grow with some sort of identities which get formed over time. We all grow with, certain ways of looking at the world which gets so sort of cemented in our you know psyche. But this idea of, like, seeing life with new eyes, right? And seeing life with the eyes of the heart, right? Seeing life with the eyes of the connection, right, which we all share in humanity, right? How has that sort of, what were some incidents, maybe like some pivotal turning points or some reflections in your own life, how your journey was going, which has nudged you in that direction, man? Because I think that is something so valuable.
So I'm still not on the right path probably, but I would just like to tell. So when, because for me it's a very interesting space on how I see life. Because at one point I could do a lot of things which right now I cannot. It could be even just watching Sachin Tendulkar bat, like he was my like biggest idol, and I just loved watching him on TV. To not seeing him as such, and when I grew up also, and it happens that you realize why are things happening with you, why is your sight going down, as such, and I came to know quite late that this is much worse than I could myself comprehend. Probably I was very small to even know that this will go so low that I could not identify food on the plate. And that transition, of losing your sight, it's very difficult. And just being prepared mentally to lose it completely. This is like highly like it's materialistic, but uh, in a way, uh, for example, like when you grow up, right? Parents tell to you, let's say, don't go there, or you'll get hurt, or let's say, don't cycle, don't run, don't even study hard because your eyes are getting stressed,
Mm.
right? Like because your sight is going down.
Mm.
And at that point, I never knew that there is a software which helps people. And so many of, like, even the society, parents, all the people around you would also tell you that, okay, don't do this, because they are in a very uh, the space which they come from is that what happens, if the person loses more sight or something happens to me, like even right now when friends walk with me, they are probably more careful, saying, no, no, don't go, this might be too risky for you. So that is there. And even for each one of us, right, like we go into that notion that, okay, let's prove this to the world. As such, like for anybody, non-disabled people or disabled people, it's always about like the first 20-25 years, uh, as such, about proving to the world that what we can do and so many things. And I was also like this only in a lot of ways, always trying to prove so many things
Mm.
to people, like proving, first of all, because of disability, need to actually just prove to the world that you are able and you're capable, right? Like in
Mm.
general that naturally happens because people, and I think this happens everywhere, people will always value, let's say, someone from a rural background or a woman saying that, oh, no, no, you are less than me. And same way for people with
Mm.
disabilities, saying that, oh, you might not be able to do this, or and so on. So that, again, that was there. But the other side is, when you have to look, for example, so many of these questions were always hurled at me, like, okay, ki, oh, you can't do this, be careful, and so many other things. But and this naturally happens when you can't do certain things. You the more it's like that irony, right? Like parents tell
Mm.
you, don't drink alcohol or don't smoke, but there are children, if you have told them not to do certain tasks, they would be attracted towards that. Or like, smoking alcohol is just an analogy to, like, when my parents used to tell me don't do certain tasks, I was more inclined to do those tasks which they would have told me not to do, just by having that rebel sort of attitude, and probably out of my own desperation, that why can't I do certain tasks, or why
Mm.
can't I study in a could be school or whatever. So, and then now I just, if I look back also, like let's say, the whatever points the society have, right? Like you have like literally proven that, okay, you can do all of this after
Mm.
5-6 years of my journey, like, whether it's, let's say, cycling so many kilometers, like I've cycled 5,000 kilometers, I've ran 7 half marathons, like, and 5-6 years into corporate, as such, I don't know, I'll not call myself successful there as such, and then running, my own social venture. But the thing is, what next, right? Like it was like, the first 20-25 years, you proved everyone wrong, right? Like you proved to the world, okay, that whatever definition of success looks like,
Mm.
all of it
Mm.
is there, right? Like because you have proved that, hey, you can be adventurous and do all of this crazy stuff. At the same time, just be able, right? Like that question which I was holding when I was losing my sight, that what will happen to me, especially from studies, will I be able to make money, and as
Mm.
such, right? Like, and these are very natural questions which parents used to go through in their mind. And I also had, like, what will happen to my future, like suddenly, uh, embracing this, it's very, like right now I can just laugh at it, uh, because I'm able to do certain tasks. And even I'm grateful for that very minuscule percent of vision which is there, because, and for me that is, you know gi- gi- probably giving me that importance of scarcity, right? Like if you look at an external point of view, someone would say that, hey, you have only 10% vision left. But I look at it at that, boss, I at least have 10% left. So, uh, and at the same time being prepared to be to zero, which will happen, might not happen. But the question, is about that impermanence which Buddha speaks is there in say. And actually, I was coming to this thing that, let's say, the like after what happens after you prove to the world, and I realized that that there is no.
You know, in fact, Vineet, just I want to pause you there, because you are saying, hey, you did like so many, how many, like 5,000 kilometers cycling, 7 half marathons. You did like you achieved something, in terms of academics. You achieved something in terms of corporate, and that made you see that this is not really just enough, right? There's a deeper longing in you. But and you make it sound so easy, but it's not that. Some of us may not realize, even if like after cycling 50,000 kilometers, or like for like 20 half marathons, it's really hard, on an everyday basis, to be able to like sort of loosen the grip of that, trying to be more macho, trying to be more like successful, and like the all achiever kind of a person. So what really was sort of helping you lose the grip? I know that it has, and I will come to how what benefits it has created. But what was that thing happening inside which has helped you see that? Because I certainly know from my own experience that it is not easy.
So see, there is no purely in terms of numbers, there is no there is no end to that limit, right? Like you earn 100 crore or 1,000 crore or 10,000 crore. But the question is, can you earn zero and still be happy? That is number one. And something which has anchored me probably two or three things at least in my past. One of them is probably I had gone to a meditation retreat of 10 days as such, and that just questioned a lot of things, but I did not have a lot of answers there. But I just feel that if I look back, I think that was a good experience to just be like on a date with yourself for 10 days through silence. As such, number one, that. Number two, I think three teachers from Bangalore who taught me on how to crack common aptitude test, and these were three housewives, and I always keep referring to them because first of all, I was surprised that there are people who would do certain things purely, number one, out of service, and the second, without any money or favors. And I remember this, that when I cracked the IIM-Bangalore entrance and all that, and we knew that everything is going good, we went to meet these teachers and asked them like, so I had brought like gifts for them, and I asked them that, ma'am, would you require anything as such? You helped us to crack this prestigious exam. And they outrightly refused. And see, for my mindset, I have not met like people like those at that point. And because a lot of us here have not seen probably the other side of just doing things out of joy or service or whatever you call it. So that was something which I will always be grateful, because that was probably my first interaction with something like this. And the other thing probably which it's like that acceptance of my eye condition. I see at one point, because of my condition, I could hide my condition in a lot of ways when I could see more. Like, for example, if someone say, hey, can you see the stars? And the answer to that might be, I can't see those stars, but I would still bluff people saying that, hey, because I'm embarrassed about my condition, right? Like and that acceptance doesn't come like suddenly you wake up and whatever you do, that it's a journey. So I used to bluff and also be ashamed of my condition in a lot of ways, right? Like I like typically don't even like talking about my eye condition in so much detail. uh,
Mm,
as such. And that acceptance, probably because of these running and cycling and trekking and all of these things, one thing I've realized, so like, and this is just a way of anchoring myself, that I just count whatever things I have. Like, for example, I was running this Ladakh marathon, highest motorable road. I've cycled there also. And there in these places, right, like, for example, breathing becomes so tough. And I was running there, breathing is challenging already there. And I just, like, this is just a reflection as such, that uh, the greatest thing which we all hold is that we are breathing every day and we are alive, and that is a single common denominator which holds every one of us together as humanity. And if we just count all the extras which we have, uh, whatever it could be, wealth, money, so many extras, like if you count it, you will figure out that you have so much to, like, which other people might not have, or in general. So I, yeah, I also feel low and so many times, but I just count ki, oh, I have so many things to be grateful towards. And yeah, so that realization, because of some of these, trying to stretch the limits kind of foolish things, I yeah, so these were some of the things which have just anchored me.
wow. So from like, you were saying earlier that, from this thing of like, why are things happening to you? Why is something bad happens to you, to like, shifting to this, that, oh my God, like, there is life, there's breath, and like, everything else is like a gift, like you were saying, at least like I have a 10% vision. That is really, really profound. And I don't know like how else to say it, but I don't know if it sounds simple to anyone, but definitely to uh, undergo that kind of a shift inside, it is like, I would say it's worth it, like, going up to Ladakh to the highest point if it can spark, and it's amazing. Um, and so Vineet, so after college you took up a job in Future Group, right? And you were there for like till lockdown, like 5 years or so you were there, right? And that's like, what most of our journeys also is like, after college we think in some certain way, although I'm sure like your thinking was like, each person's thinking in a way like slightly different. But can you like trace that journey for us, like, how did, like, even when I, for example, I left my job, right? Like so many people say that, oh, how did you leave it, like, what was so, even though on the outside it seems just like one thing, but in your mind it's gradually like churning, right? So many things are happening. So can you give us like a picture of, who were you when, when you were working at Future Group, what was going on in your mind? And then, even when you were thinking of like, having a more fulfilling sort of work, there's so many questions, challenges which come up, right? So many doubts come up. So how did you navigate all of that? And just like tell us like behind the scenes. We all know like front of the scene that Vineet Saraiwala LinkedIn update has started, like the founder of Atypical Advantage. But what was like, would love to get a peek.
Uh, Rohit, basically, see, first of all, when B school placements happened, obviously, I was expecting better companies as such, but the thing is, again, certain companies had this question, right? That how would I manage, or how would I work in certain areas and all that. So that happens in general, right? Because people might not have met enough people with disabilities. And I fundamentally believe that lack of exposure creates the greatest divide in the society. Just because you might not have met people with disabilities, you can't have a blanket opinion that certain tasks which people can do or cannot do uh, as such. But I think, again, if I look back, I think that is like one of the best things to happen to me, because I was reporting directly to the CEO of a concept called Big Bazaar, and it had its own perks. of directly working and trying to understand different facets of business as such, whether it's analytics, category, pricing, as such. So one of the projects which I did there was to make shopping accessible for people with disabilities as such, and people came, and a lot of people with disabilities were like in the public space and so on, and it was a good program. And that actually also taught me about so many privileges which we hold, uh, because I am from a middle class family and I had never interacted with grassroots or even people with disabilities. In spite of having disability, I had not met enough people with disabilities, and we hold like, because of our privileges, and sometimes we don't also want to interact with different diverse people, right? Like, for example, we would have different notions about transgender people. It's just that we might not have met enough transgender people and have certain biases, which would be through reading or books or movies and so on. So, one, it gave me a very deeper understanding about the community as such. And the second thing, what Future Group enabled me is, because I was reporting into the CEO, you had like the maximum power to change things in a lot of ways. And so I got a lot of freedom to do things and dabble in things which I like, chuck things which I don't like. That is a very different degree of independence. But that monthly paycheck is important. It's like it is like an addiction, I would say. It feels good, like, oh, first your you get this message that, hey, your salary has been credited, and your bank balance increases as such. So it looks very, like, satisfying. Oh, like, you worked 30 days and you got a monthly paycheck for that. And naturally, when the money increases, and the thing is, because there is no upper limit to that, like, as such. But so that was, I had also become very probably complacent, and this monthly paycheck addiction per se as such. But then I actually, like, again, grateful to my boss who allowed me to go to this Vipassana retreat uh, in as being like, it was like some sort of a sabbatical, I would say. So that happened. And then, like one of my mentors whom I met in general, just triggered me. And actually, I also met like Nipun by and stayed with him like for 2 days. And I said, oh, there is also a different way of living which I've never explored in my life. I am still not there yet, let me tell you. I'm trying to be there. So that was like something. Can you actually, be able to do things in a non-transactional lens, at the same time driving transactions? Can you raise money without having the intent to raise money? And it might sound counterintuitive. I'll probably come to that aspect sometime later. But the third thing is, obviously, I met this, like, one of my mentors, his name Venkit Krishnan, and he again told me that, look, Vineet, you are blind. You hold a lot of privileges. You are from a good B school. And there is a very interesting problem which needs to be solved for so many of us. And I just thought that, this guy is making sense, and probably I'm the chosen one to solve the problem. So that was it, probably. And I just thought that, what will happen? Let's explore life. And yeah, so that is how these questions were holding me back. I was confused about life in general. And then there is this huge problem of livelihood in the disability sector. And I just thought that it is the logical thing to do, because I'd worked extensively in, generating shopping, making spaces accessible and so on. And I also hired like more than 500 people with disabilities. So yeah, that was, it seems very logical right now. So yeah, these were the things, and probably Rohit, I think this also plays in, I think my, the one thing which I was again afraid, and anxiety levels were very high. I'm very sure a lot of B school folks right now, like whoever I talk to, they say that no, I can't quit my job because my home loan is going on. And I've met like so many people like 5 to 7 years post B school who would have taken huge home loan EMIs as such. So, and I think yeah, like house is a very important piece of the entire puzzle. And yeah, like all parents, me and my brother both were like,
So you
okay,
were
just
saying like,
now can
we
you hear
like,
me, right?
now we can hear you clearly. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you
So
finish that last part, what you were saying?
no, I was saying that basically my parents thought that these brothers will stay in Mumbai happily ever after. So let's get them a house. And most B school folks do that in that 5 year, 7 year time frame to buy a house. I think that's the first thing you do naturally, probably in India. I don't know about the global trends there. And yeah, like so that EMI was also playing in my mind while taking this decision as such.
Hmm.
And again, like this, I also did not know, how things would evolve or shape up. And family was not like I think I told you, Rohit, right? Like, so my father was like, oh, how would you earn money? Why do you, like, how can you help, like, earn money by helping people with disabilities? Why do you want to go to the social sector? Shadi nahi hui hai, who will marry you? And all those stupid questions. So yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot to be thought in terms of simplicity, right? Like what kind of simplicity allows you to really live the life which you feel you can live. And, you also was saying that, you met so many grassroots people, even in your, Big Bazaar days, you helped so many people get employed, and now you're doing it, in all sorts of different ways through a typical advantage. And, and you're also speaking about like, when you were with those three teachers, that that's where you see that there is a space inside human beings which blossoms when like we are not transactional, right? When we connect deeply to people. So like and given you do so much work on inclusion, like there's one way to do inclusion, which is like from a just like a sympathy lens, right? Like oh my god, this person doesn't have anything, right? His life must be like so uh uh like tough and like sad and all of that. And then like sort of trying to help from a distance, versus like I think your approach is more towards on this end of the spectrum, because I've seen you like spend, or at least I've heard stories, if I've not seen firsthand, of like you really tuning into the lives of people, right? And really feeling connected to each and every individual, perhaps with which whom you have worked in that process, right? And I think I mean, this is one of my all-time favorites, and I think you also would have come across it. There's a beautiful quote. There's a lady called Rachel Naomi Remen, and she
Right.
says that when we help, we see life as weak. When we fix, we see life as broken. Uh, but when we see life as whole, we don't help and fix, we serve. So what would you say in terms of like how that were you always like that, because I feel it's such a profound thing, man, like to not to be able to look at the other person from a sympathy lens, from a very superficial lens, feel that you have so much, when inside actually we are struggling in very different, but like perhaps in very significant ways. But to see that, oh my god, like we are like in the same boat, like we are really in this boat of life together, and to like do things from a space of friendship. And that's like really hard for a like a business kind of mindset, right? See things as like problems in the world, and like you do like, hey, here's a problem, I am an entrepreneur, this is my solution to the problem, right? But to realize that, lives of people are not problems, like there is an inherent wholeness. What has, you know can you even like, you have so many stories, right? Okay, if you can share one or two stories of from your work, or even just from your, from your do what you do outside work, which has sort of, I think, speaks to seeing the wholeness in each person and engaging with that uh, sensitivity and that sensitivity of the heart.
No, I think Rohit. So first of all, like that's a beautiful article. Like one of my favorite all-time articles, all-time favorite articles. I would say I keep on referring that article as such. And in fact, so I would not like to give you stories of specific people, but I'll tell you what's going within me. And so, for example, first of all, getting an opportunity to be of service itself is a blessing, and itself is a privilege in a lot of ways. Not everyone gets that opportunity. So when you come through that lens of transaction, that hey, here is a person with disability who doesn't have a job, and you got a job for them. So I in fact go and tell my team that you're not doing, first of all, a favor on them at all by doing this work of getting jobs. A lot of times, you'll get that ego to your head saying that hey, suddenly you're helping so many people, and it happens to the best of people. This ego of fame, or whatever the impact of helping so many other people, as such, I don't see that, uh, at least within me. And obviously I also get carried away sometimes. But the idea which I always hold when I talk to any person with disability, is first of all, if someone has reached out to me, the person has reached out because probably I could do something there with my own gifts, uh, and the person is considering me worthy of service. So I truly look at things from that perspective, that I'm getting an opportunity to serve people, and I should try my best. And at the same time, being aware that I can't solve, or it's not in my way to probably, just go and say that I would change the world, or things like that, but doing whatever best in my own capacity as an individual. So jitna ho sakta hai, trying to do. Jitna nahi hota, I'm also aware about things which I'm not able to do anything about it. But at the same time, everyone can't do everything, as such. So that is uh, probably there. And this is the same message which I talk to the teams. And I've seen like so many of our artists and performers who have got shows and uh, made some money through the platform, and they would understand, like when they reach out saying that hey, like today for the first time, I had this much amount in my bank, and I was able to treat my family, or just I bought something for my mother. That is, I think, priceless यार. Like उसको तुम कितना भी पैसे में क्या तोलोगे उसको, उस impact को. तो yeah, that is another way of looking at it, in general. And again, I try to do whatever I can. And like for example, even now coming to friendships, uh, everyone has limited time, and we cannot again just go and say that okay, I'll be connected to 1,000 people or help 10,000 people at a personal level, responding to everyone's messages and all that. I can't do that. But the idea is, yeah, could we again cultivate a deeper relationship with lesser number of people? Again, purely being there whenever they need and helping them, as such. So yeah, and from a business point of view, it again sounds very counterintuitive. Some of the best things which has happened to the firm which I'm leading is because of that lens of non-transaction, where people have come out and just helped the platform, and you like out of pure joy probably. And so many of them are there. Like, so someone asked what's the competitive advantage of atypical advantage. I said that you can't copy compassion as such, right? With a business lens, I think you need to have the right intent to uh, just uh, understand the space and solve it probably. Without intent, nothing will work in general. Agar intent sahi hai, to a lot of things have happened in my life just because of serendipity and the right intent. And I just tune into that emergence and just follow the heart probably there. And the second, probably the last bit of thing, uh, at least in the last 2 years, and I'm again trying to stretch these limits for myself. A lot of people tell us that, focus, like we don't have a separate fundraising team and all those stuff. And I personally don't like asking money from anybody. You would know this, Rohit, like it's not even from my own family or my own brother, though he's like a counterpart of it, Rohit in investment banking and so on. But uh, but like when my bank balance has read zero, I was never worried. And it, like, it's still probably zero or negative. But that stillness which you achieve now, like I have, like, again, I'm testing this to my limits. And when I say to my limits, I actually mean it. I've sold all my shares, mutual fund, all my investments read zero. As such, moved to Goa, and like the monthly thing also, it manages out as such. And obviously no savings. It actually is zero. I don't shop anything, like, some generosity of my brother last time, he like told that, oh, you have become a founder and these clothes don't look good to you, and forcefully, made me buy some clothes. And I actually bought it not because I wanted it, but because sometimes, it's his love and which he wants to give. So I also need to tune in and embrace that love from people, right? If I be again hold my own values and be very rigid about things, so that is also equally important. And I actually whenever I tap into seek support for my work, I feel that uh, uh, again, first of all, I'm not coming or approaching someone for support because of my own selfish reasons. I am trying to seek support so that I can probably serve more number of people. And that is a very different level of energy which you exhibit when you talk to people, because you're not talking
Yeah.
for selfish reasons ki, hey, here is, because I see that I am at least allowing you an opportunity to serve. Now it's up to you if you want to serve or not. So I see at least things from that lens. And coming to the max, like most of the NGO world and the for-profit world runs on fundraising from generosity of Rohit and my brother. But when you tune into friend raising, what happens? And this is again what I've learned from the space itself. And magical things happen. And for example, we have a investor waitlist form in our company, where the first line which reads out that if you're looking for financial returns, please move out. And if you're looking for social returns, then go to the step 2. And we have like, and people say, oh, this won't work. Ask any VC, they go crazy. Oh, you have an investor waitlist form, and then you screen investors based on values and then take money from them. And till now, Rohit, we have exactly followed most of these traits. And you will find enough people, but again, the value needs to match. And the focus has to shift from that financial returns, and I've realized probably I don't have so much money, but that capital, right? I have so many friends, so many deep friends. When my bank balance will reach zero, and God forbid, it can't go worse than zero. So yeah, at least I am very sure there would be like friends and family turning up and saying that, hey, Vineet, let's gift you some money. So
Indeed, man. But I think I think you know, when I talk to a general narrative which I see across in like our sort of groups today is so much like, I want to accumulate enough so that, my rest of my life, my children's life is like completely secured. And when I have read in that space, I am like, ready to start my giving journey, right? But I think what you are doing is like, like really, I think turns it apart on its head, right? Like, that, hey, this is like a principled stance, I'm ready to embrace my own vulnerability for this. And which I think in a way is your own vote on like, the faith which you have in this principle, right? Of like, uh, like what you were saying, selflessness, that others before self and not like others only after you have like, totally uh, solidified and made self. So it's I think really a beautiful thing, uh, and and even allowing others to participate in that generosity, like and what I if if by getting your bank balance to zero, like you can have like a smile like you all the time on your face. I don't know if it's like the joy of giving and like feeling connected to life, but I would say that it's like worth a chance. But you were talking about serendipity also, right? And one of the things which we struggle a lot on, which is in connection to this, is that the mind always wants predictability, right? And wants like certainty, right? That, but that if I do this, how will I be taken care of, right? What will I, so it's very hard to lean into uncertainty, right? But what we don't, so that's a very linear kind of thinking, right? I mean, for example, if I am wondering if you were to look back at your life 2 years ago when you took that leap of faith and dropping that your monthly paycheck, uh, perhaps like, and I remember I connected you to one or two friends and all of them said that, oh man, this idea is like this doesn't make sense, it can't scale up, it won't make sense, you won't be able to survive and all of that, you're a fool, don't like risk yourself into this. But so all kinds of your own inner doubts and that get compounded by the external doubts. But I think there's something to learn from your journey about that how serendipity can strike, and your path can get formed in ways you cannot imagine. Like a metaphor which I really love is like if you can't see like the next 20 steps of your journey, it's like a torch, right? Your heart is like a torch guiding you in a dark tunnel. It's like you can see the next two steps, and once you walk the two steps, the next two will become clear, right? So I don't know what like how have what have you seen about this kind of trust in the goodness of life, and how it has become like a
yeah,
sort
in
of, it
fact,
seems like that's a business plan, right? Like serendipity is your business plan.
yeah. So see, I think I don't know what's the technique to tap into that unknown, but I'll just give you my 2 cents here. Like for example, see, one, because of my eye condition, right? Whatever you like it or not like it, this is a decreasing condition, right? Like the sight is going down, and you can see that. So this itself, and you don't know what will happen 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line. For me as an individual, and sight is important. So, and so there are two choices. Either, I feel look at this, that hey, I have a decreasing eyesight, and start worrying about things. And the second is, just trust the universe to make things align for me. So, and this is like a very small example. I travel all of the places alone independently. At one point when I was there in, probably don't know how to harness serendipity, my mind would say that, hey, will the cab driver who come to pick me up would be good or not? Because he might not help me, or he would leave me in a deserted place and run away, as such. But now when I travel, I actually see, uh, when I meet a security guard, he would remember me a lot of times. The person who assists me will say, "Hey, you flew to Delhi last, right? How are you?" Or the person who is taking, my ticket, even if he is a person who is unknown, he would again, that connection. I feel that connection, and even the person who frisks me at the airport, and I don't know what it is, but like we'll just exchange 2 or 3 words. And I have always seen the person who comes to pick me up would suddenly turn up to be like my next, like, best friend in a lot of cases. And it happens with me every day, in not only this flight experience. I still remember, like, I landed up to the Bangalore airport, and I met a cab driver, and he had seen my episode on TV, and he says that, I would not leave you till your friend comes after reaching the destination. I will wait. I said, no, boss, I am comfortable. You go. It's like, and I'm very comfortable in unknown scenarios, unknown places. And I've tested this hypothesis because of my site, and
Hmm.
again, using technology. So I'm actually taking a lot of these extreme steps, which I should not in sometimes, but I just do things to test things on what will happen. In like, for example, just going to Goa and living here.
Yeah.
Again, purely serendipity and a mix of obviously several other factors. But yeah, even in terms of meeting people, trying to be non-transactional about it, and like
Yeah.
tuning into this has helped the company also, and helped me as an individual also, as such. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have seen some examples of that. Like, you were talking about cab drivers, and I remember, like, when I had come to your place, and there was like actually a scooty driver actually had come in scooty, and yesterday just I was seeing some photos. I don't have that photo right now, but uh, you called that guy up, and like you invited him to dinner, and like there's a photo which is like both of you sitting on the sofa, and like eating dinner together, you know which is like who calls the cab driver up to their home and just serve them to dinner, like, and sit together, right? That is like really, I think, and that is like really the heart of inclusion, right? And with that is, how do you meet each person as a human being? And if you are able to do that, of course, like if then you can trust on serendipity, right? Like love begetting greater love. And even one more example, right? Like I was like very so I was when I was going to his place, and he was just telling, oh, the new cook is coming, and of course he needs like a person to help him around, like in some case, so he'll be staying with him. And you know what, Rohit, what I told that, why do you sleep here? Like there's a bedroom empty, why don't you just use the bed and sleep there? So it was really like baffling for me, man. Like the kind of and baffling in a good way, like inspiring, that how do you, because especially when I think one of the great uh, unintended consequence or a negative side effect of success also is that how we start feeling disconnected to others, right? So then to be able to reclaim back that heart, where you realize that in the larger scheme of things, we are all just really equal, and to be able to meet people in that sameness rather than your own specialness is like such a profound thing. So it's amazing, man. I know there are like lots of things which we can still discuss, but we have some friends. I'm also keen, like, if Abhishek, Shar, or Geetika, if there's anything in your heart, from what you heard, any reflection from your own life or any question which you would want to add. Uh, so it will be really nice to have your uh, presence also in the mix.
Right. Okay. So to break the silence, let me start. Uh, so one like this from what I did speak with Vineet like many years ago, and I'm listening to him now also, and I think this space which you have created, Rohit, it kind of allows him to say those things which I have not heard in other conversations. Definitely not on Shark Tank and other things. Um, so so I think I can sense this deep, immense transformation which has happened within Vineet, and it's like very profound experiences, especially around the approach, right? Maybe externally, a lot of things have not changed. He was efficient and he was sharp before also, and he's even sharper and more efficient now also. But I see this mega shift in the approach, the rationale and the why behind everything that he's doing, and that is so inspiring. Um, I think that also kind of is something which gives you that internal shift within yourself. So and he was giving those examples of relying on the goodness of people and experimenting with them, with the whole thing, and experiencing that goodness being out there. So I think that shift, or the fact that he can allow himself to be in unknown situations and just surrender is the word which I can't find another good word for it. So that surrendering is because of that shift in the approach, and it's immense and very, very inspiring. So I also don't think that you were saying, Rohit, at some point that people look at it and see that they are successful. The way I've been listening to Vineet, it does not feel like there would be a success or failure, because this seems like a journey, and it's as much internal as it is external. So uh, so very, very pleased to hear this, Vineet. Like, this is great, and thank you, Rohit, for giving this space as well.
Rohit is the trigger.
Beautiful. Thank you, man, Abhishek. Like, I am like so inspired, man, every time I hear you speak.
Yeah, I also want to just add that Vineet, it was such an inspiring story to hear. And like you have, I think the struggle for creating a business plan, or business, it's probably secondary, but fighting with your own victim mindset, and probably seeing what the glass full, half glass full. I think that's a victory which probably is something which needs to spread more, and more people have to embrace that. Because it's very easy to get into trap कि मेरे पास ये नहीं है, I need more, और मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों है, and still grow from there, and and to have that service attitude, and probably inspire people around you that you're not doing a favor, and have an attitude of service. And even schooling VCs that you got to serve, and probably. And I remember in IIM-Bangalore I did this course, operation strategy, and the professor on the board, he created key operations, executions, HR, finance, etc. And on the left corner he just added an arrow, and it was founder's intent. And he's like, yes sab theek hai, that can create competitive advantage, but ye jo founder intent hai, that's irreplaceable. And I think you were spot on. And Rohit was also mentioning about the torch. I think founder's intent is so reflective in your story. So thank you for sharing your journey with us.
No, thank you. By the way, sorry to interject, Rohit, and hijack this. So since you were talking about the glass being full or empty, I also always believe that look at the glasses, what, like half full versus that half empty,
Yeah.
or 10% full or 90% empty, like just from a side point of view. But after Vipassana and reading a lot of things, at least Buddha tells that look at that glass as already broken, which is zero, probably. uh, in a
Oh,
way, because at some
wonderful.
point it will go, because at some point it will actually go to zero, like the glass will break someday. So if you have that
Yeah.
perspective and that feeling that someday to ye glass break hone wala hi hai. Someday, I was reading Rohit's article on like this funeral pyre where Rohit's grandmother was burning, and Rohit is saying that, oh, this, how much long will it take? Will it take 10 minutes to burn the cop, like the body completely, or 5 minutes? Then he just reflects and says that, how does that matter? We are burning from the time when we were born, so it doesn't matter that
Mm.
it takes 10 minutes or 100 years. The burning actually starts when you are born. So yeah, that's just a perspective.
True,
Wow.
so true.
So Vipassana is like really um, showing up in how you are assessing things as well, and it's great, right? Because it is what it is, and all of us are on that journey of losing our capabilities of all the sense organs. It's just the rate at which we are going, which is probably different. So that acceptance and seeing things as they are or sensing things as they are is, I think, great perspective to have again.
Yeah.
Uh, Geetika, if you would like to unmute and say hi to
Yeah,
everyone.
I am just like off video, but I'm smiling behind the camera, just listening to
We
all
can
these
feel your
stories.
smiles, Geetika.
Yeah, I know. No, thank you for conducting this, Rohit. And I just feel so privileged being in the esteemed company of these great people that I see on my screen right now. I will just start by saying that I'm not very good with words, but everything that everybody has been talking about, I feel it to the core of my heart. I've never been very expressive through my words, but I think from my actions is how I represent my emotions. And just on like whatever Vineet has been saying, and like, we all have known him for a while. I think from the time that Vineet used to be one of my section mates, same for Rohit. I have never felt him to be any different. I think that's the beauty of what he carries as his ability, that you won't even ever feel that he's any different from who you are. And he continues to operate his life in the same way. What stands out for me through his journey is that he has some unique capability of inspiring people, which a lot of successful people even don't have. I don't know how he does it. Every time I have had any low moment in my life, which is completely unrelated to anything that he might know, and I've just spoken to him and I have just like completely forgotten about my own low, because he has this capability of
Wow.
bringing a smile on your face through his own actions, and you start thinking about, hey, whatever is happening in my life is so insignificant, because there are so many bigger causes that we have to work towards.
Mm,
And when you focus on that, everything else seems so meaningless. So I think that's what I derive from him, speaking to him every single
wow.
time that I do. And every single person that I know of who knows Vineet closely knows the personality he is, and he's so inspirational to even a small kid, right up till like maybe some 50-year-old person that he's been interacting with. He just like continues to inspire all of us, and I think that's what's needed for each of us as humans, that we like carry this light that inspires other to be good.
Mm, mm.
And we should carry that light till like we leave this planet. That's what all of you are doing over here, and I hope you all continue to do that, so that we make this place a much better place before we leave, right? So that's what we have to do as souls.
Wow.
So thank you all for sharing your great words of wisdom. I
And
hope
Rohit,
we
you're
pass.
doing
Yeah.
this. I think you should do this more often with, especially B school folks, because B school folks have certain mindsets of their own, very like long biases, very hard to break. And
Yeah.
probably, I don't know, like just meeting interesting people, like, what you're doing at least will throw in a very different worldview to people, which they are not even aware about,
Yeah,
probably.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's also not to tell that that different worldview is better than your current one. It's just to know, or just at least know this. Like, I'm not saying that,
yeah. Yeah.
this is a
Yeah. It's
superior
like
way
that.
of living.
It's like that. By the way, the program is not yet over. Okay. So we'll still have a 15, 20 minutes left. Before we completely let our guards and we start like or bhai kya haal chal ye wo, but we, we still need to be in our behavior, in good behavior for some more time. But so much of what you're saying, Vineet, is like that, six men and the blind elephant, the blind men and the elephant story, right? That all of us can never really see truth in wholeness, right? We all are seeing our own perspectives and dimensions, and there is a way in which we can come together and just create violence and competition among ourselves. That hey, I am right, I am right, I am right, which is versus there is a way if we change the organizing principles in which we come together, and if we come together in this heart of supporting each other, and as Ramdas would say, walking each other home. I think that can help us really collectively see more, right? And not see just from the senses, but see from the eyes of the heart, right? So I think that's and it goes to what Gitika was saying, right? Sometimes we get so caught in our own stories and narratives, especially in the culture which is so driven towards achieving and success today, that we even get disconnected to the part that to the reality that we all have that light within us which we can bring that, and we can share that light in the places of darkness in the world. So I hope we can sort of help each other see that light within ourselves and nourish the light, and so that it may also spread out. So especially this thing, right? I've spoken to so many people, uh, and when I look at everyone who has such a sharp mind, and I feel that, oh my god, so many gifts, right? So much beauty it can create in the world. But if I really talk there's so much doubt that, hey, I don't even know, I am, if you want a PowerPoint presentation on how to strategize to increase the LTV of the consumer, I can give you a very compelling presentation. I can give you advice how to scale 10x. But to how to bring a smile and how to bring more beauty, how to heal, how to reduce suffering in other person's life, we don't feel we are equipped, right? So there's a short 3-minute video which I wanted to share. I want to play it. And this says that, no matter wherever we are in life, howsoever scarce we may feel, our mind may be telling you, we always have a lot of, capacity inside of being that agent of spreading light. So here's a very short 3-minute video. One blind guy, one armless, and how when they came together in that spirit, how what magic they created. So I let me just play it without trying to describe it further. So Vineet, so I mean I'll share the transcript with you after the
Yeah.
call, but it was so the blind guy cannot see, and the guy without the arms. So there's his friend without the arms. So the blind guy took him on his
You have
back,
shared me the story. You have already told me the story.
oh,
I
okay,
I
awesome,
remember this
awesome,
on one of our
awesome.
beach walks.
Okay, okay, lovely, lovely. So it is so remarkable, man. Because I fall in that trap so many times that I don't have anything meaningful to give to the world, but we all have that always in ways in which we might be surprised if we are willing to take small steps. And, again, Vineet, when, today, uh, if someone, who is just at a initial stage, right, of asking these questions in their life, if they look at you, I think that still seems far off, right? Like, because it looks so much like big things, man. Like, you're going on Shark Tank, you're creating new company, you're putting all your savings on the line, and so on. But so I am also very curious in the potential of small, and small not in the sense in terms of like, oh, do small, and one day, you will really get big, and that will be the prize, right? Of what like small practices or small acts have, have had like influence in your life, of the opportunity, like even if like you can't do anything, you just like hold the door for the person behind you at your office with a little more gentleness, man. Like you go and like speak to the janitor in your office also, like take couple of minutes. And so I like, maybe if you can share your relationship with the small, if you can share like any stories. You are not like really given us too many stories, so I'm hoping before the end of this call, like I know you're like a type who wants to like do things invisibly, but
No, so see, I think, and I believe in small acts of kindness in a, a lot of ways as such. So I think right now, uh, just from sheer memory, I just remember this thing. So where there were like a lot of slum kids, and actually this was during COVID itself, as such, and basically a lot of them don't have family photos,
hmm,
and like we had a photographer with hearing disability, and I told him that I'll pay you for your efforts, and I just wanted to see what emerges actually. So a group of photographers with hearing disability went to the slums, teach the slum kids on how to take photographs, and post the workshop, went to their families and took a photo and printed it up in a beautiful frame and gave it back to them. Very simple, but it I was just happy of doing it, and and for them it would be some priceless memory. So that is one I'm just immediately remembering. The second thing, see, for me, again, I like, for example, I'm a firm believer that so we don't apply to any awards as a company. You'll
hmm,
hardly see us there ever in any of the awards as such, because I think, and I mentioned this earlier also, that you are getting an opportunity to do such good stuff, and your work is itself an award, right? Like, you don't need award to do your work technically. As such, what more award you need, that of doing your own work, right? Like, look at nature, right? Nature, oh, I today sun would say that, hey, I want to rise. As such, give me an award for rising every day, right? Like, and sun has never questioned that. Like, it has been there for decades and billions of years. It doesn't get any award for that. So I know that's a very, like, tall thing to say, and very difficult to embrace. Stories, actually, I can tell you so many stories as such. Like, for example, so I had to go to uh, a session in Manipal, and it's like, and the cook which was there, his father was on the deathbed, and he needed to obviously go to his hometown uh, as such to meet his father, and I am going on the same day to Manipal, and that too, I typically don't take like a train journey, because it's inaccessible to me in a lot of ways. So I usually travel alone, like comfortable in cabs and flights, but not in train. So somehow I don't know why did I do that. So I booked a ticket with the cook, my caretaker, and to Manipal. And suddenly this happened, and I was like, oh, I was still like, like obviously, made the tickets of my caretaker, and like, oh, like jo hoga dekha jayega, like, and somehow and I don't, and I was not looking like, never imagined. So one of my friends suddenly just made a passing reference on a conversation with me that someone is coming to Goa who would go to Manipal. And randomly in the night, I called her up saying that, hey, this is the situation. And actually, she came to the house from somewhere else, 100 kilometers as such. And then again, there was no ticket. So the person traveled, obviously, like she canceled her own ticket, and this new ticket was my cook's ticket. And the TT thought that she's a 65-year-old person. Nothing, the TT did not say anything. So actually, I'm just, yeah, grateful, and that so many dots connected so that I could go to Manipal in a safe way. And the possibilities from a very transactional lens is zero. Like, what's the possibility of getting someone to come to your house to go to Manipal with you for that function or event? Uh, so yeah.
So, and the cook was able to visit his father.
Yeah, so in fact, that's another thing, that the cook reached almost 1.5 days before the father passed, and he's always grateful to me that everything, like he was just there at the right time, and he like, felt that any one day of delay would have, he would have felt so bad his entire lifetime. And so
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and I somewhat remember you sharing this story with me a few months ago, and you were saying that he's like a hotshot cook, and but I think what it really meant to him to have that kind of attentiveness and to facilitate that for him. He's like, Brady, I'm like your friend for life, man. I want to like if you ever need me, like I am there, kind of a relationship, right?
Yeah, no, completely. The caretaker has taken a 50% cut on his own salaries, and he used to actually serve a billionaire and films as billionaire and film stars. He's like a chef. That is why I confidently invite people to my house, as such. But just to tune in, and I actually asked him this, that like everything is not going in your favor, right? Like I'm paying him less, and at the
Hmm.
same time, he has this choice to go to billionaires and film stars because he's that good as a chef. What makes you do this? Like, like, and so many people had called him up to come to, you know uh, their places, and he refused all of them. But when I called, I don't know, how did that happen? But
This is amazing, man. Like, like love begets greater love. Like, if you, I mean, I get surprised, right? And when I hear a story like this, that when you respond to with love, we get so much afraid, right? If I just give, like, what will I get back? But I think this is the kind of stories which help us see in a new way. And also, I think that kind of receiving, man, like, I think if you receive like a meal with so much love from a person like that, like you really can't. That I mean, one thing is for sure, you can't buy it in that 5-star restaurant, right? Like because that is like really a meal coming from a place of deep friendship.
yeah.
So yeah, this is amazing, man. I don't know, like if you have anything to share as a few closing words. Would you like to share something, anything which is something nice which I should have asked, but I haven't asked. If you can like generously still share without me asking, So maybe we are just at like last couple of minutes of our conversation.
No, I think, yeah, you have covered it. I don't think there is no aspect which I have not touched upon. Everything is there. I just don't know what the future holds as such. So don't ask me that question because I don't know the answer.
I did have
Like
one of those
I actually
questions as
thought
an
that you would ask me this stupid MBA question, that what's your 10-year long-term goal in life. So yeah, I'm glad that you didn't do that, and I don't have an answer also.
You have enough investors to ask you that question, man. So I'll spare you that. But in terms
Yeah,
of
we are
future,
doing that
right? Like
only.
maybe that's like this is like a good cap to see it, right? If you like, I think we saw so many things, right? And like, our external circumstances also keep on changing. So it's not like, if anyone is watching this conversation, they need to be like Vineet, or even like, I need to be like Vineet. We all have to find our own spaces. But to cut through all the complexity which life, we have to embrace in life in terms of various things which we have to responsibly balance. Uh, to cut through that complexity, if there's one simplicity sort of which you try to live your life by, so what would you say? Like, ultimately, like, few days ago, me and Sharva met, and we were talking about like this Clay Christensen, right? Harvard prof. He had like a beautiful TED talk. He asked like, how will you measure your life?
Yeah.
So like our brains are so conditioned to think in terms of aggregates that, oh, I impacted 10,000 people, or I was like, CTO of this company, and so on and so on. But really, I think, if like he says God, but we don't need to like think of it in terms of God, but you can just ask your inner self also, that if at the end of it, like, if it will evaluate and assess, that how did you fare well in this life which you were given. So at that point, it will not be aggregates. It will be like, very individual moments, right? That how did you respond? How were the like the small twists and turns that life threw at you, the small challenges and blessings that life threw you at you. How did you respond? So what is that kind of simplicity, man, like which you try to organize your life around? So how will you measure your life? How do you measure your life, man, in a way?
This is a very like, I can't give you an answer to that, but I'll just tell you some of my reflections there. So first, so I'm a big like fan of Rumi and his
Hmm.
quotes. And
Hmm.
there is this book called 40 Rules of Love, and I actually look at all those 40 rules, very brilliant quotes in each one of them. But the essence is simply, that follow your heart. So when I probably am on my deathbed, the question which I will hold there is, did I follow my heart? And if the
Hmm.
answer is yes, then I think that's good enough to depart. As such, why I need to even measure my life in any metrics, whether any non-profit or for-profit metrics, right? That whatever money I would earn, it won't define me in any ways, right? Like in the
Hmm.
deathbed, will it actually matter? Matlab, the question which you could probably think in your deathbed is, yeah, like one thing which I would probably like to, do better is try to see that, if I can probably deepen my relationship with my parents, my brother, my family.
Hmm.
That's still a work in progress, which
Hmm.
I need to do
Hmm.
that, because sometimes in terms of, running a company, uh,
Hmm.
this probably takes a backseat in a lot of cases. Like, for example, 2 years I was there in my house when like my mother was serving food on my table in my laptop. I'm very sure everyone
Hmm.
has gone through that as such. And uh, in spite of being like, you throw in your own tantrums because you're running a company and stressed by any means. And it's difficult as such. So I'm trying to, again, so the question which I would probably like, at least these would be the only two things which I would just think is like, yeah, one, follow your, like, did I follow my heart in my life's journey? And the second question is, yeah, like, did I was able to, bring a smile on my parents, and like, yeah, at least the people whom I was were connected to. Rest all technically doesn't matter to me, at least.
Yeah, that is so amazing, man. And I'm really glad that you brought that up. about the relationship with your parents and your family, because I feel that this is such a big thing of, trying to go back to the roots and reconnect to the roots, and also like deepen and expand the roots. And, on that note, I would like to cap off, let's cap off this conversation. And I'm really grateful, Vineet, for being here for this conversation, and being here for life in the way you show up with your heart of, you know, generosity and service. And I hope, we continue to learn from each other, and, continue to, be in friendship. And
Rohit, coming to, in fact, you wanted to hear a story. I just thought of a story. So one of
yes,
the
yes,
very large,
go for it.
no, thought of a story as in, yeah, it just naturally came to me,
Yes.
which sometimes tests you. And so there was like a CXO of probably a person doing $1 billion IPO. And this guy asks me, so the team is sitting. He has come probably to express buying out our company. And he asks me this, and that, hey, what is your exit plan? And 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 at the heat of that moment, and like I never built the company for an exit, by the way, and probably I never thought that answer enough also. What came naturally to me, I just spoke there and said that, boss, I'm not building this company for exit. And if you really think of an exit, get one, 10 लाख लोग का जॉब लगा दो एंड मेरा एग्जिट ले लो, एंड उस एग्जिट के पैसे से यू स्किल पीपल विद डिसेबिलिटी. And he was like blown away. No, I did not mean to, like ask, he was like shaken aback as such, because I literally was doing it so that, we can collectively solve this problem. And I told him that probably, once the problem is solved, or at least I see some signs there, as such, do that, and then yeah, you even enjoy with my money post my exit. So he was like, oh, how? As such, because yeah, he probably had thought that, okay, I'm building this company to make more money. Money is important, having said that, but that was my answer at that point with him. And he was like, oh, like he's like come from a different planet, he doesn't have an exit plan.
This is amazing, man. Thank you for sharing that. As you were saying before also, this, when you do work which is in resonance with your heart, which is in resonance with compassion, I think that work itself becomes its reward. So in that sense, then you, why would you when you are so deeply, you gain so much from being able to serve, then why would you even think I think it's just like a concept which just makes sense, then kind of thinking exit, that I need to gain something out of it. And this is so true. And I think it shows up that despite a zero bank balance, I've seen very few people who show up with a zero bank balance but with such a broad chested smile, man. So 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 thank you all for being together as part of this space to share stories and to just connect heart to heart. I would again like to close with maybe 2-3 minutes of silence, that for all the joy we feel among us right now, to see the beauty flowing, that may it continue to flow further, and spread just beyond our the boundaries right now, in wherever it feels the most organic to flow, and it bring more light and joy in places where it is needed. So in that spirit, we'll be in silence, and I'll play uh, a short music also, and I think which is really the spirit of inclusion, and in so many ways, I think it is the spirit which I think Vineet, you embody in so many ways, and which we all hope to that we can cultivate a little more. So it is. I know, Abhishek, you will have a smile when you hear this, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. So let's just play that for a couple of minutes, and then we can just, once that ends, we can just say goodbye and
Abhishek is
disconnect.
coming to Goa.
I am coming with it.
I'm selling.
Thank you. We can all unmute ourselves and just to say like a goodbye, and we'll see each other again soon.
Thank you, Rohit. अब मैं कुछ नहीं बोलूंगा, ठीक है? बहुत बुला रहा है।
Thank you,
और
guys.
क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया मैंने।
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Rohit.
Rohit.
Thank you, Vineet.
Thank you,
Thank
Vineet.
you all.
Much
Thanks,
Thank
bye.
you, everyone.
Again, cheers.
Thanks,
Bye.
Vitika. Bye.
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 Bye.